All right. Welcome everyone to the Ether Core, the heart of our eponymous hub city here, and by far the greatest hero asset I think we've got in the whole game. Those of you who have seen this building before, have seen designs of it before, will notice we've given it a bit of a rehaul, actually. So Billy, this is probably a good question for you. What's the ether core, and why is it that we've kind of come back and given it another pass like this?
Well, the Ether Core is the heart of the city from the narrative, and it gives life to the city as a shield, and it is protecting the city from Solar's bombardments through its AI, and its energy is limited, but it is protecting the city for now. What we were trying to capture with the design was that feeling that this thing is a part of the city in a major way. So it's massive, it's a hero, it stands out very, very much. The exterior design got overhauled due to the fact that we wanted it to feel like a tree.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to feel like a tree to give life to the city. So it has an organic shape and flow, but also holds true to the nature of the era and the language that is New Ganymede. So there was a lot of thought that's gone into this design and how we can mix and match these languages, these factions, and actually have this thing feel like it's supposed to be here. So that's why we did the overhaul. We wanted to capture that narrative more deeply. We also wanted to incorporate some of the adjusted languages that we had come to a much better stage with. We've also got the firewall that Michael was running past, the firewall HQ.
Yeah, that's
That
right up here.
is, yeah, this is a really, really cool key quest loop location.
Like you mentioned, the ether core it's alive. It's what we call a cosmopoetic AI. It's actually what has produced the world around it. It's been programmed decades ago to create a world that's supposed to be conducive to human life. The building is sort of the chassis around it, right? But it's important that we evoke that language, that it is like a living organism, and we're blending these very like organic forms. So it feels like a tree. It feels like Yggdrasil, right? Performs a very similar sort of function, even in the cosmogony of the Vanguard and the Augur as Yggdrasil would. So the firewall here is basically a very scrappy militia of mostly ex solar security personnel themselves that have defected, that since the siege began have been sort of doing their best to kind of scrap together what little resources they have to try and protect the city, because you'll notice that pretty much everything outside of the city is in trouble at the moment. It looks like a bit of a blasted wasteland out there. This office here, we've got two characters in here, Commander Caius Dumain and Abel Seconds, who are basically working, night and day with, two men and a stick against an absolute armada of this solar fleet in orbit, and they're definitely fighting a losing battle here until the player comes along, and of course until the Captain Zarina Skanda, also comes along.
They have scrapped together this location. They've also got access to like very accelerated like technology, right? So it's pretty funny contrast where they got like papers and stuff all around there. It's a mess. And around them they've just like jerry-rigged cables to their holodeck that they've probably like ripped out from somewhere, right, to use here. And they've just jerry-rigged all the power cables and made it all work for this location. The language sets used here gives us an interesting contrast of how they're living.
Mm-hmm. the two characters that we got in this space, one of them is a shroud. So he's a person in a robotic chassis who has willingly or otherwise basically transcended his humanity, is living in a robot chassis, and is very very much about using whatever we can in terms of the resources that we have at hand to fight back. And then we've got the commander, who's a cantankerous old former Solar security officer, who's the complete opposite. He does not trust holograms. He does not trust all the wiring and cabling. All he really trusts is his own two hands, and he prefers to work on paper, much to the exasperation and confusion of those around him. Because, of course, it's not even real paper, right? This is an entirely virtual environment, virtual paper. But there's a couple of pretty funny interactions between these two characters, and I'm excited for the player to be getting in and sort of building a bit of a relationship with some of the characters that we got in this space.
Now would be a good time to segue the concept art that got us to this point.
I mean, it matches pretty good, right? The 3D guys did a pretty amazing job. Hang on, I'll find the angle. This is like the exact angle of that concept piece there, right?
This is where you cue the Halo music, the opening, like when you start the game, the Aurora.
So this is the ether core itself. This is the living heart of New Ganymede, and everything in the world around it is reliant on the life and the energy of this core. This is where we kind of get into like the sci-fi fantasy blend, right? Because you're seeing a lot of sci-fi stuff here. What's happening canonically is there are ley lines basically running through the city and through the world that are sort of connecting to this as like the beating heart, right? And so much of the devastation you see outside in the outskirts is not actually just a result of it being bombed by the Eclipse, the ship that's in orbit. It's actually severing the sort of veins and arteries that connect the ether core to the land around the land, sort of slowly dying away, right? But we've got the ether core shielding the city itself, so we still have some life here, and we can see just a little bit of life returning to the main river through the hinterlands there. Just a little bit of green seeping back in there and giving life back to the land. So there is hope since Skunder's crew and the Asterius showed up, and certainly now that the player's on the scene, we do have a bit of hope here to turn the tide. And it's not happening right now, but I would like something I need to talk about with Timmy. I'd like very much, if you get up to here, you try to get any closer than this, boom, you're dead. You're zapped. You're done.
It logs you out. It uninstalls your files.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're done.
And then we have the portal here. I don't know if this is coded right now, but you know what? We can trick this. You ready? We're going to trick this through the power of editing.
It must hurt so bad.
What, having your neurological and genetic data like unspooled and respooled over and over? Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So what we have here, this still needs animating, but we've got a projection here of the intersection of physical and noumenal space. So these worlds like New Ganymede that we're on at the moment, it's a non-physical space. It's what the layman might consider a virtual space, but it's what the Vanguard call noumenal space, because it's sort of pure thought, pure impulse, at least according to them, sort of unhindered from the layers of our perception. And what we have here is a sort of representation, a kind of map of the intersection of those two spaces. The astral network, the astral verity, as the Vanguard call it, is basically comprised in physical space of a like an artificial nebula of tiny satellites that are kind of dispersed throughout the Jovian system, right, in and around Jupiter. So we have this intersection between physical and noumenal space occurring very close to Jupiter. I won't say exactly where, but that's one of the big secrets in the narrative of how that came about, why it is that the Jovian moons and Jupiter itself and that whole system is kind of important here. And then, of course, we have the keyhole. So this, and there she is, there's our captain. So we have the portal here, which will be taking us to Umbriel. And this area up here is where players are going to be first logging in. So you're going to see a lot of population around here, a couple of key NPCs. Of course, we've got others down in the city. But this is basically going to be the heart of the hub right here.